Socialism. Rachel Chiu from Young Voices is live. She's up late with me on the Final Five to talk about this. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Jim. It's great to be here.
Let's talk about perspective here, because I think that's very important to outline here. Give me a sense of how this topic, as you watch these protests unfold, what does this bring to mind for you?
Yeah. So the socialism debate is really important to me because of my family story. My grandmother lived in China during the Communist Revolution, and she, among many others, were considered enemies of the state. And because of that, they were tortured, enslaved, some were even killed, like my uncle. And I wish this was a unique story, but it's not. There are millions of Americans who have also lived under socialist and communist regimes, and their voices deserve to be heard when we're trying to consider whether socialism has any merit in our country.
We know that people have talked about what they perceive to be the merits. And we're not going to, you and I are not going to debate the merits of this, but some people say it promises things like equality and safety and opportunity. They believe that all of their needs are cared for. That is not necessarily what they follow through with.
Exactly. Socialism sounds nice on the outside. It promises all those things you said: security, opportunity, freedoms. But in reality, it has never delivered on that. We could just look at other countries, the history behind it in China, Venezuela, Cuba, Soviet Union. We know that this doesn't work and that there's so much pain that comes with it.
One of the symbols we've seen during these protests, many people have been carrying the American flag through this, and there's been debate over what the United States can or should do in a situation like this. But I do believe, look, people will always say, when you hear people in the media talk about America being the greatest country in the world, and they say you're overstating things, but that means something there. It means that people are looking to us as generations and as civilizations have looked to the United States as a symbol of hope.
Exactly. And the videos we've seen out of Cuba over the past week are really remarkable, not just because of what they're standing up for, which is really great in and of itself, but we see this trend. We've seen it in Hong Kong, in Venezuela, and now Cuba, where, like you said, they hold up the American flag. And as Americans, that should mean something to us, that we are a symbol for people who are oppressed, a symbol of hope and freedom, of something that could be better. And as Americans, we shouldn't take that lightly, and we shouldn't freely trade that away.
What's amazing, too, as we see all of this unfold, and we've seen symbols of that here in D.C. I know that outside the Cuban embassy, there is a giant Cuba Libre marking on the pavement. I believe there is a protest scheduled outside of the White House tomorrow. I can imagine with this, what is a humanitarian crisis. There's no debating that's what we're seeing right now happening in Cuba. And I know that there's this call for the U.S. to do something about it. For people who feel like, hey, I need to support these people, I stand for what they believe in, what do you think they should do? What do you think is the best way to get that message across?
Mm-hmm. I think right now the people of Cuba really need America's support. And whether that comes from the state or from everyday Americans who just show their support online, that really does go a long way. And I know that for many other oppressed people in all sorts of countries who have these horrible conditions, it means so much to them to see others standing by them and saying, hey, I see what you're going through. I stand with you.
We had a guest on last night, Kelly Vlahos, where we talked just about what remedies there can be from a legislative and a government standpoint. And I think, again, it just comes down to the end that regardless of where you stand politically, there are people, there are fellow human beings. They may not be fellow U.S. citizens, but they are fellow human beings. We share a planet with them, and I think I think we all agree. Anybody who watches it knows that something needs to be done in Cuba. Hey, Rachel, I have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know we always point out when a guest literally stays up late. You are up late with us, and I appreciate it very much.
Thanks so much, Jim.
Final Five.